and welcome to my channel. This is going to be an introductory video on how to use the basics of TinkerCAD to design a prototype project. So the project that I've selected that I'm going to make is a cell phone amplifier. So to take a look at examples that already exist, I'm going to switch over to Google and type in cell phone amplifier, and we'll take a look at some examples under images. So there's lots of different styles here that we can take a look at for inspiration. The one that I am partial to is something along the lines of this here. But the one that I really want to use is something similar to this. So this is what I'm going to strive to do today in TinkerCAD. So I'm going to be coming up with some dimensions that will fit the dimensions of my phone and hopefully allow my cell phone to project an amplified sound. So we're going to switch back into TinkerCAD and get started. So we're going to select Create New Design. And the first thing we want to do when we enter TinkerCAD is change the name of the project. So it defaults up here to this funny name. So every time you start a design, it comes up with this odd name up in the corner. So what we want to do is select it and then rename. So I'm calling mine cell phone amp. And we'll click out of that. And this is basic shapes. So it defaults to this drop-down list. I'm going to start with a cone. So I'm going to drag that over into the work plane. And one of the first things that you can learn with TinkerCAD is that you can take a look at different views of your object. So this is the view cube. So if we hit top view, we can take a look at the top, hit front, right side, and if you hit the corner here, this is known as a three-dimensional view. Now, what I prefer is to switch to flat view orthographic. So this will basically make it so it's flat 2D, so I'm looking at my objects as if I was looking at something straight on. So there's no depth perception to it. So this is basically a bird's eye view looking directly on top of the cone, and then looking at the front, and then looking at the right. So this is my preference. It's not something that you would have to do in your design, but this is something that I'm used to doing when I work with CAD. So that's why I make that change. It's very subtle. If I switch back to perspective view, you really can't tell much at this point. But anyway, I'm going to switch back to orthographic. So to change the dimensions, if I click on this little endpoint square, I can edit this 20 millimeters to be 50 millimeters, and it turns it into an elliptical cone. But I want to make this equal, so I'm also going to update this to be 50 as well. Okay, so I'm happy with this. And what I'm going to do next is switch to the front view, and I'm going to hit this top endpoint to change the height. So to make this relative to my cell phone, I'm going to select a height of about 100 millimeters. Okay. So a neat command that's in here is you can actually duplicate and repeat this cone. So instead of dragging another cone, editing the dimensions of it, I can just select duplicate and repeat, and I can drag a cone outward like this. So I'm going to make this about 75 millimeters and on 0 on my horizontal axes. Okay, so I'm going to drop that like that. And so now I've got 2 of them. So these are aligned a specific distance, and the next shape that I'm going to use is the paraboloid. So I'm going to drag it into the middle here. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is centered the same as these 2 existing cones. So what I'm going to do is select the paraboloid, hold down Shift, and then select one of the cones. And then it basically puts both of these in a box. I can click Align, select the paraboloid, and then select the cone, and it actually aligns it for me. I'm not too concerned whether that this is aligned horizontally. I just want it to be aligned vertically. Okay, so I'm going to be editing this to be 50 millimeters. And the same on this value. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that into the middle like this, and we want to make sure that this is as centered as we can get it to be. So when I look at this, this is basically overlapping this horizontal line, and we still have a little ways we can go. So we can drag this down a bit, like this, okay? So now that looks like it's pretty well aligned the way it should be. And we're going to try to align this again. Oops, okay. Let's try that again. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now we're going to switch to our front view, and we're going to give this some height. So we're going to change this value. So these were changed to 100. So I'm going to bring it up to 100, but actually what I want to do is I think I'm going to be making these actually a bit higher. I'm going to change this to 125, and I'm going to do the same with this one. And this one, I'm going to make 150, actually 125. switch back to my top view, and I'm going to stretch this. Okay, just like that. We're going to take a look at it. So this is 120, 125. And I think I'll just make this one a bit taller. Okay. So that's looking okay for now. And I'm going to grab another shape. I'm going to grab a box. And I'm going to use this to flatten the top. So again, I'm going to edit the dimensions. So I'm going to make this about 150 long. And this dimension about 75. And then we're going to take a look at the front view, and we're going to see if we can get this to grow. Okay, so let's do it this way. So we're going to make it about, I'm going to give it a value of 50. I'm trying to use nice even numbers. We're going to move that out. Take a look at the front. So basically, I want to be able to move this up. So I want this to be, in total, about 100 millimeters high. So what I can do is drag this up to 100. Let's take a look at it from all sides. So it's a little too high, so a little bit of an error there, so bear with me. Let's go down to 100. So that's exactly what I want. So that is right in line with the top of the paraboloid, and it will cut this top part right off. So what I want to do is, all I need to do is just slide this over just so it's covering the top. It doesn't have to be precise. And we're going to switch this to whole. And then what we're going to do to be able to cut the top off is hold shift and select both cones in the paraboloid. Once you've done all that, but don't forget to select whole for this square, hit the group command. Oh, bit of a problem. So let's try this again. Select this box, select hole, deselect, then shift, cone number 1, cone number 2, paraboloid, and hit group. Something's wrong. Okay, so I think you have to do it while you're in 2D perspective. So that's looking the way I want it. And what I want to do now is I want to actually rotate this because this is upside down for me. So if I select this and hit the rotation arrows, I can select, change this to 180 degrees. And now that's the way I want it to look. So I have to hollow this out, and to save time, I'm not going to redo all that work and just try to make it a bit smaller. The smart way, I think, to do this is to create a duplicate of this. So if I select this, hit duplicate and repeat, and drag it over, so now I have 2. Right, and I can actually modify this to be a bit smaller. So the original is 125 millimeters. So I'm going to make this one a little smaller, so 115. And we're going to change this value to be 41. So we're taking 10 millimeters off each value. And then for the height, we're going to make this 95. So we're just going to take 5 millimeters off. Okay. So what I want to do is actually raise this up. So we're going to raise it up 5 millimeters by dragging this arrow so this is aligned with the top. And we're going to switch, now that we've done that, we're going to switch back to the top view, and we're going to turn this into a hole, just so we can see it a lot better. We're going to drag this inside like this. And we'll align it. So we'll select this, we'll hold shift, select the larger one, hit the align, okay, that looks pretty good. So now we're ready to cut the hole. So we're going to select the inside one, the outside one while holding shift, hit the group command, and we'll switch to a 3D view, and we can see that this is now hollowed out. Okay, so we're getting there. We're almost done. And we've got this nice design here on the outside. Right? It's a little different than what we saw in Google Images. I think this looks a little nicer. But that's just my opinion. But moving on. We have to create a cutout for the phone to be inserted. So I'm going to grab another box, drop it here, and switch to my top view and edit the box to be, I'm going to make this 85 millimeters, which should be enough to fit the width of my phone. And I'm going to change, I think I'm going to leave this at 20. I don't think I'm going to make a change here. I think this is good enough for me. And I want to actually make this look a little nicer. I want to make some curves on the corner here. So what you can do is click the basic shapes, drop down, scroll down to shape generators, switch to all, and keep hitting more shapes. This is something I have to do to find what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a fillet. It's in here somewhere. Okay, so this is what I want. This is the meta fillet. So in the future, you can actually double click the star and it will be added to your favorites up at the top. All right, so I've got it right here in my favorites, so I can drag this in. And what I want to do is edit this. So I just want a small fillet on the corners. So I'm going to change this to I'm going to try 10. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to switch to the front. And this is set for 20. That's good enough. So I'm going to make this 20 as well. Switch back to top, and we're going to duplicate this. Whoops. So select, duplicate, and repeat. Drag out. And one more. Okay, so this one. So to drag it into the corner, don't select it, just, while it's not selected, grab it here and drag it. And you can drop it into that corner. And what else we can do is rotate this. So we're going to make this 180. And we're going to drag this one to here. Rotate this one 270 degrees. And this one This is giving me trouble. And we're just going to mirror this. There we go. And we're going to drag this to here. Okay, so this one here we don't need. So we're going to hit delete. These four, we're going to select, hold shift, let's try that again. Select whole, and then select the box and hit group. Okay, so that cuts our corners off. And now what we want to do is we want to raise this up a bit. So I want this to come off the work plane, so I'm going to select here, I'm going to drag it with this arrow, I'm going to select 10, like that, and actually before I do that, I want to rotate this, so 90 degrees. Now, I'm going to switch this to 10, and now I can drag this over into the center. It doesn't really want to let me align it this way, so I think this is good enough. This looks very centered to me. And what we're going to do is switch to the right, and we're going to drag this so it's inside. Select that to be a hole, and then hit shift, select, and group to cut. And there we have it. So this is my completed cell phone amplifier. This is my very first completed TinkerCAD design. So thank you for staying with me and watching through for the whole video. So the next step for me is to place this into the Dremel slicer and to 3D print it, and then we're going to test it out in class and see how well it works with my cell phone. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and take care, and I'll talk to you later.